Welcome back to Elder Scrolls: The Complete Story. For this episode, we're going to jump to the Second Era, but don't worry, we'll be returning to the Mythic Era soon enough. So for this episode, I want to ask you guys the question, what do you think of ESO? Are you enjoying it? Are you hating it? Are you ignoring it? Or do you just not care anymore? Let me know in the comments down below. Now to our story. It's time to move forward in time to the Second Era. Now the game ESO takes place in 582. So what happened before the year 582? At the earliest points of this era, we don't know very much. We do know that we already have the Blades, the Protectors of Tamriel, and the Dragon Hunters that we know of from Skyrim. They did kill Drakendrog in the year 184. This was verified by the College of Winterhold, who have happened late into the 2nd century. Now at the beginning of the 3rd century of the Second Era, we did see Murmnir, the first dragon killed by the Dovahkiin in Skyrim. Now shortly after seeing that dragon, the Mages Guild was formed in 2 Era 230 by Vanus Galeron. We'll explain much deeper in a future video the Mages Guild, but just so you understand who they are right now so that we can move forward, the Mages Guild is a guild dedicated to the collection, preservation, and distribution of magical knowledge with the basic rule that all citizens of Tamriel should benefit from this knowledge. The Mages Guild is one of the first guilds you can join in Elder Scrolls Online, and one of the most prominent guilds in the entire game series. It's actually predated the creation of all other guilds at this point. After this, civil wars break out between the houses after the creation of the guild, and the next interesting historical moment happens in 2 Era 283. Vercidu, the ruler of Tamriel, residing in Cyrodiil, begins to face the fact that his empire is actually disintegrating. The vassal kingdoms of Tamriel are all breaking out into civil wars and rebellions. These problems are now coming to his doorsteps as the kingdoms are refusing to pay their taxes set forth by the kingdom itself. The rebellions would grow so crazy that they would cause the destruction of Dawnstar City, and the city wouldn't be rebuilt until near the end of the 3rd Era. The destruction of Dawnstar would start one of the bloodiest periods in Tamriel's history, as Vercidu called for martial law. He would expend most of the legions in the Imperial Army and wipe out most of the gold reserves in his efforts to squash all of the rebellions. During the fighting in Cyrodiil, the Khajiit are combining their forces to create elsewhere the Khajiit Kingdom. As the legions of the Imperial Army are falling, it is decided that they're going to need new soldiers. But how do you get more people to die for an empire as it's falling? Easy, you hire sellswords. One of Vercidu's relations has put together a series of warriors for hire for use by the kingdom. Due to the creation of this, it can be assumed that Vercidu foresaw a future problem with guilds popping up all over, so he sanctioned the creation of the Guilds Act. The Mages and the Fighters Guild became official legal guilds at this time. Along with them, we also got the Tinkerers Guild, the Cobblers Guild, the Scribes Guild, the Architects Guild, the Brewers Guild, the Vinters Guild, the Ratcatchers Guild, the Weavers Guild, the Furrers Guild, the Cooks Guild, the Astrologers Guild, the Healers Guild, the Tailors Guild, the Minstrels Guild, the Baristas Guild, and finally, the Prostitutes Guild. Sadly though, this was one of the last things of note that Vercidu would be able to accomplish, as the Morag Tong would remove him. Now, we'll give a much better explanation of who the Morag Tong are in another video. But they are the earliest version of the Dark Brotherhood. The difference is that they are an officially sanctioned guild of the assassins in Morrowind. They began as a guild whose purpose was to prevent massive bloodshed with selectively calculated killings. With Vercidu assassinated, his replacement was Savarin, his son. But not much is known about his reign. In the year of 430, the Night Mother ordered him to be killed, and every remaining heir to the throne. With the current ruler dead and no one to succeed the throne, the period of interregnum began. Some time passes with a lot of infighting and civil wars. More books get written, and an alliance between Casimir and a dragon end with his own death. This brings us to 2 Era 546, the year that Joram the Skald King is born, who will eventually become the Nordic High King of Skyrim. In the year of 2 Era 555, Princess Iron is born, and she will eventually become Queen Iron of the Aldemir Dominion. Jorun survives many battles and proves his worth, while Princess Iron vanishes. They both have interesting stories that we'll be covering shortly, but for now, we're going to move to 2 Era 579. It is here that the Soul Burst happened, and while we're unclear as to what caused it, it was an arcane explosion in the Imperial City. It set off aftershocks throughout every corner of Nirn. Mages died or went mad, extreme weather lashed out all over Tamriel. The Red Mountain flared in Morrowind, earthquakes rocked Skyrim, and storms destroyed the coastlines of Elsewhere and Valenwood. This event would also cause supernatural abominations on the plains of Oblivion to appear in greater numbers than ever before. This left the Imperial City in shambles, and the factions all began to fight over the Ruby Throne. The Aldemir Dominion, the Daggerfall Covenant, and the Ebonheart Pact all began their battle in Cyrodiil. Between the factions fighting in the weakened walls between Oblivion and Nirn, Molag Bal sees this as a chance to enslave everyone on the mortal plane. Molag Bal is the Daedric prince of domination and enslavement. At this point, the Soulless One awakens in Cold Harbor. Why is the Soulless One here? Is he related to the Soul Burst? Can he stop the advancement of Molag Bal and his army? Can he help steer the tide of the faction battle and help conquer the Ruby Throne? This is for you to decide, as you are the Soulless One in Elder Scrolls Online. Next week, we'll cover a bit more on the important characters in the events of ESO, but don't worry, this is going to be a very long series and will eventually hit your favorite Elder Scrolls period. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here at Eligible Monster.